What is going on, everyone? Mets Talk with Hayden here. What is going on, everyone? I hope we are all doing extremely well today. I am most certainly doing well, as always. I know it was definitely not last 2 days were not the best for the Mets, but hey, listen, we are going to get into all of that today. But before we get started, everyone, please smash that like button, turn on those post notifications, tell your friends about this channel. And obviously, if you have any comments, any questions, any concerns, anything related to the Mets, the Nationals, the Marlins, anything MLB, drop it below. I know it says Mets Talk with Hayden, but it's honestly baseball talk with Hayden. But in today's stream, we are going to be going over the New York Mets and the New York Yankees, the Subway Series summary. We are going to be summarizing that. Then we are going to be transitioning into the New York Mets and the Colorado Rockies series preview, as the Mets are going home for a 10-game homestand. So super exciting to see. The Mets were away from home. They had about a 2-week trip on the road, and then now they are home, so that's going to be super exciting to see the Mets back at Citi Field. Today is Thursday. I thought it was Friday. I don't know, but black uniforms tomorrow, so super exciting. So let's get into all of the great New York Mets news and all that stuff. And like I said, if you have any comments, any questions, anything related to baseball, drop it below, and I will get into all of that when we are done with that. So yeah, let's stop wasting any more time and let's dive into it. So getting into game one of this 2-game set against the New York Yankees, the Mets lost this game by a score of 4-2. Getting things started with the pitching matchup, we had Max Scherzer on the bump for the Mets, and Scherzer, he pitched an okay job. He didn't have his best night. Definitely, gave up a couple bloopers, some hits, a little bit of hard contact. But the slash line is 6 2/3 innings, 7 hits, 4 runs, a walk, 3 strikeouts, 101 pitches. So, I mean, pretty high pitch count for Scherzer, as we could see. The strikeouts were not really there. The swinging and misses were not really there. But I guess to say for the least, Scherzer, he had an okay start. I mean, maybe he could have definitely got the win. Obviously, if he had some run support, but like I said, I mean, that's just simply enough how baseball is sometimes. So, obviously, okay start for Scherzer, nothing crazy. Yeah. Obviously, getting into some of this bullpen, as we could see with the bullpen, Trevor May came in to finish off the 7th inning to face the one batter, obviously going 1/3 of an inning and striking him out. Obviously, 3 pitches, 3 of those were in the strike zone. So, super good to see for Trevor May. Obviously, he needed that outing big time. And then following that, Michael Gibbons came in to close things off, an inning, giving up a hit, and 15 of those were pitches. So good to see Michael Gibbons actually start to get on a little bit of a clean slate. Recently, we know that most of his outings as a Met has kind of been a little rough. So good to see Gibbons with a good outing there. That's always enjoyable to see. Following that, in terms of this offense, it was pretty quiet. Like I said, two runs, 4 hits. Obviously, you were not hitting with runners in scoring position. That was really quiet. Yeah, like I said, for the least, just super unfortunate night offensively. We were not seeing fundamental hitting. We were not seeing clutch hitting. Really, to say for the least, we weren't seeing much of anything. So very unfortunate. In terms of this offense, I'll get started with the run creation. In the 7th inning, Daniel Vogelbach had a 2-run homer to right center field, 401 feet, to bring in himself and Pete Alonso. But like I said, quiet night offensively, obviously. I mean, a lot of guys really went 0 for 4 or 1 for 4. So just really unfortunate to see. Vogelbach honestly had pretty much the best thing that night, obviously, with 1 hit and 2 RBIs. But otherwise, everyone really had a pretty disappointing night at the plate. So yeah, like I said, I mean, stranding runners in scoring position. I mean, going, what was it, 0 for 15 with runners in scoring position? I mean, that is unbelievably inadequate. Like that's a no-no. And you're facing Domingo Germán, who the Mets beat up last time, and the Mets were only able to get 4 hits and 1 run off of him in 6 1/3 of an inning. So, I mean, just super unfortunate that the Mets were not able to tack on Domingo Germán. I mean, just, yeah, unbelievably, really unfortunate. And getting into game 2 and the final game of this, 2-game set, 4 overall of the season, the Yankees won this game by a score of 4-2. Apologies. And that was probably a really much more close and lively game, to say for the least. Getting things started in terms of the pitching, you had Taijuan Walker on the bump for the Mets. And Walker, like I said, decent start, pretty good. 5 innings, 4 hits, 2 runs, 2 walks, 3 strikeouts, 81 pitches. Arguably, maybe could have went a little longer, but obviously, with the Yankees meeting the order up, they did not want him to face Judge once again. So started off good. I mean, obviously, the first 3 innings were perfect. He had a perfect game in 3 innings, but obviously coming on into the 4th and 5th, Aaron Judge kind of took him deep, and then he gave up some soft contact to the middle of the infield. So he kind of had a little bit of a hard time there. He was throwing the split finger a little bit early on in the game. I think he was having a little bit of difficulty kind of acclimating and getting used to it. But overall, he started to, like I said, collapse once he, once that 4th inning came into effect. And obviously could have went longer, but they didn't want him to face Judge. And, the Yankees meet at the order once again. Obviously, in terms of the bullpen, obviously Seth Lugo came into relief. Following that, Lugo went 1 inning with a walk and 2 strikeouts, obviously 21 pitches overall. And then obviously Dolly Rodriguez came in to try and replace Lugo, but that didn't go so well. Only went 1/3 of an inning, giving up 3 hits, 2 runs, and 8 pitches. So that was very, very unfortunate to see. It was a obviously tie game. You gave up the lead. It's not like he gave up 1 run or 2 runs. He gave up 3. So just really unfortunate to see Dolly Rodriguez. I mean, the fact is that, the Mets simply enough cannot have the trust in Dolly Rodriguez to be effective. The fact is that Billy Epler trusts Dolly Rodriguez as really much your sole lefty in this bullpen is just really it's really concerning. It really is. It's a no-no. That cannot happen. Like I said, at the deadline, I didn't trust Dolly Rodriguez, and I get it. Dolly Rodriguez has been pretty okay besides 3 or 4 outings pretty much the last couple months. I don't care if he has a 0.91 ERA before this in the last couple months. Point is, I don't trust him as a sole lefty. Arguably, I don't want to say he's a Miguel Castro 2.0. Maybe I think Castro's a little bit different, obviously, with the walks and some stuff like that, to make them a little bit more different. But overall, my biggest concern is having him as the sole lefty. I just do not have trust in him as the sole lefty in this bullpen. So like I said, Mets, they're going to have to make something. Otherwise, it's going to be really long and really frustrating. And then following that, Adam Ottavino came in to try and fix things out and did a pretty good job, I guess. Obviously, Adam Ottavino with 1 2/3 of an inning, a hit, 3 strikeouts. So, like I said, obviously it probably wasn't, a great night for the Mets bullpen. Lugo really came into clutch, obviously, with Ottavino once again. And this was a game that, you were able to keep in store. The Mets pretty much kept in, they were pretty much competitive for the whole game until pretty much the final pitch. And, we'll get into that 9th inning with the Mets offense. But yeah, just super frustrating night for simply enough for this Mets bullpen. Something is going to have to change with it. Like I said, I do not have trust in this Mets bullpen. I absolutely do not. There's 1 or 2 guys I trust. Obviously you can make a really strong case for Diaz. And you could honestly even make a case for Adam Ottavino. He's been very consistent. And maybe even Trevor Williams too. But yeah, like I said, disappointing night for the Mets bullpen, especially in the lefty. But pretty much following that, in terms of this Mets offense, you had 9 hits. You stranded plenty of runners in scoring position, going 1 for 15 with runners in scoring position. That is very bad. Very bad. I don't know why we keep getting these ads. I'm reading this off ESPN, and it keeps giving me these silly ads. So I apologize if you ever hear that background noise. But pretty much what's been really frustrating, I guess, is the stranding with runners in scoring position this series. And we saw it plenty of times. Obviously, 1 for 15 with runners in scoring position has really been inadequate for this New York Mets team. Getting things started with the Mets run creation in the fifth inning, Starling Marte had an RBI single to right to bring in Mark Canha, and Brett Beatty was en route to go home. Joey Cora sent him, probably a very foolish decision by Joey Cora, and obviously Brett Beatty was thrown out at home. But obviously Marte got the RBI with Canha scoring. And then in the sixth inning, Jeff McNeil had an RBI double to deep right center to bring in Alonso. Good base running by both McNeil and Alonso. Obviously McNeil kind of was standing by the shortstop position, try and, trick, the Yankees infield. And obviously they were not paying attention to Alonso, who was running home. So I guess that was kind of a little bit of sneakiness on the base paths that we don't see the Mets do a whole lot. So good to see them take advantage of that. And usually a team like the Yankees is pretty mature with that stuff. So honestly, kind of surprised to see that. Yeah, so like I said, disappointing night offensively. Obviously, going into the ninth inning, you had 2 outs, obviously, and then simply enough, you had Francisco Lindor come up to bat, and obviously a very disappointing at bat for Lindor. I know he's been very hot lately, so I hate to bash him, but I just want to come on here and state the facts. Francisco Lindor, coming into the ninth inning, obviously gets into an 0-2 count just like that. Strike first pitch and then fouls 2 pitches off, and going on to the fourth pitch, just gets on top of it and flies it out to shallow left center to end the ball game. Obviously, you had bases loaded. You were down by 2. A base hit would have tied it. A double probably could have gave him the lead. Obviously, with the speed of, I think it was Canha on first, I think you were definitely capable of scoring those other runs. Or it was Marte, I believe. So yeah, I mean, you were definitely capable of him scoring on a double down the line with his speed. I mean, that's kind of been the moral of the story for him this season. So like I said, really disappointing night. I mean, the Mets had so many advantages, and you had runners on first and third. With 1 out, simply enough, what would they do? Ground ball, double play, or just something very unfortunate. So, like I said, Mets, we haven't seen that a whole lot. That was definitely, a 2021 style New York Mets. Like I said, we've seen a little bit from them this season, so it's unfortunate that it happened. It would have been nice to take, the 3 or 4 from the Yankees. I think that really could have been nice. But like I said, you know what? It happens, and we'll move on to the next. And with moving on to the next, let's get into that. Yeah, let's get into that Rockies series. Super exciting for that. Obviously, Colorado Rockies will be coming into town, and obviously, like I said, Rockies are coming into town to play a 4-game set against the New York Mets. Obviously, Game 1 is tonight at 7:10, and the Mets are coming into this game with a record of 79-46. With a record of 40-19 at home. So those are pretty favorable stats, if you could say. And then for the Colorado Rockies, who have not been having a great season, they are 54-71 with a record of 18-39 on the road. So yeah, not good numbers for the Rockies on the road, at home, or just overall. So for the Rockies, it's going to be a tough matchup, obviously, because they're going to have to face Jacob Degrom, and Degrom has phenomenal numbers against the Rockies, both at Citi Field and Coors Field. Taking a look-see at Jacob Degrom this season, he is 2-1 on the season with a 2.31 ERA, a 0.51 WHIP, 23 and 1/3 inning pitched, 37 strikeouts. Biggest thing with Degrom is just how dominant he's been. Like I said, do I really need to give much of an analysis with Degrom? I mean, he's an ace. He's a Cy Young caliber pitcher. I'm pretty sure he knows what he's doing. I mean, he has a huge arsenal of pitches. Like I said, the fastball slider has been completely nasty. I mean, he's, been throwing 100, 102 miles per hour. I mean, in the first inning practically, and then even in the 6th, 7th inning, so it's just been very dominant. I guess kind of the thing with Degrom that we're going to have to observe is that, we're really going to have to try and observe with is he going to have a pitch limitation? Obviously, we were going to see, obviously, he did not pitch this Yankees series. Kind of foolish move by Showalter, but, whatever. So he's going to face off against this Colorado Rockies lineup, which, like I said, he has very good numbers when facing. But when it comes to Degrom, will he have a pitch limitation? I mean, when will be the first time where they pretty much say, Degrom, go out there and do your thing? Obviously, you're going to be cognizant with Degrom the whole season, being realistic. You're obviously not just going to ignore him. But simply enough, they may let him go the pitches or, into the seventh inning. I don't know if he'll be throwing a shutout anytime soon. But simply enough, taking a look-see at some of Degrom's numbers, obviously against the Colorado Rockies, like I said, they are pretty favorable for the Mets case and Jacob Degrom, with Jacob Degrom pretty much dominating pretty much majority of this Rockies lineup. Obviously, very familiar faces with Charlie Blackmon, CJ Crone, Sam Hilliard, Jose Iglesias, Ryan McMahon, Brandon Rogers. These are guys that he faced last year. Not many new guys for this Rockies team. I mean, obviously, Randall Grichuk was with Toronto last year, so it'll be the first time. But Grichuk in 11 at-bats, 2 homers off of him. So, I mean, that's something you don't see every day, especially from I think Grichuk is an average hitter. But, yeah, you don't see that. So we'll see. And obviously, for the Colorado Rockies, they will have Ryan Feltner. Obviously, Feltner 2-4 in the season, 5.88 ERA, 1.39 WHIP, 56 and 2/3 innings pitched, and 49 strikeouts. So obviously, the Mets are favored to win this game 89.9%, which obviously, if you know basic math, that means the Rockies have a 10.1% chance of winning this ball game. Mets lineup is out, so I may as well go over it. Rockies lineup is pretty much out, and it pretty much shows the Rockies lineup career numbers versus Degrom, and they're pretty much all Mendoza line numbers, maybe a little bit below. But in terms of this lineup tonight, leading off, we will have Brandon Nemo playing center field. We'll get into the leadoff spot. I know a couple of you guys have asked about that in the chat, and I definitely want to give my opinion. But pretty much leading off for tonight, we have Brandon Nemo at center field. Batting second, the right fielder, Starling Marte. Batting third, the shortstop, Mr. Smile, Francisco Lindor. Batting fourth in the cleanup spot, Pete Alonso, playing first base. Batting fifth in the designated hitter role, Daniel Vogelbach. Batting sixth, the second baseman, who has been red hot lately, Jeff McNeil, a.k.a. Jeff McHits. Batting seventh, the left fielder, Tyler Naquin, who has been a little bit of a strikeout machine, hasn't been producing much, so you hope for a good night from him. Batting eighth, the third baseman, the prospect, in Brett Beatty. And finishing off right behind the plate, batting ninth in Tomas Nido. So we'll see. Going to be a really exciting game one tonight. We have DeGoat, a.k.a. Degrom, on the bump. Getting into game two of this 4-game set. Tomorrow's game, we will have Chris Bassett on the bump for the Mets. Obviously, Bassett has been having a pretty good season for the most part and a pretty good second half, if you can say. Obviously, Bassett is 11-7 on the season, 3.26 ERA, 1.13 WHIP, 141 innings pitched, 138 strikeouts. Like I said, Bassett's been having a really good season for the most part. No major complaints when it comes to Bassett. If Bassett could mix his pitches really well, we know he has a huge arsenal of pitches, so sometimes it can get a little confusing on what pitch selection you're going to go with. But try and occupy the changeup. That was something that's been pretty good for him the last couple of days. So like I said, you want to mix up your pitches. Obviously, the long ball, the hard contact has been a little bit of a concern for Bassett. Obviously, taking a little look-see, 15 home runs in 141 innings pitched. I mean, yeah, Chad Call, who he's facing, has 17 and, about 40 innings, pitched less, cores of field, whatever, less of a pitcher, whatever you want to say. But, Bassett hopefully can try and limit really just that hard contact. That's really going to be the goal for Chris Bassett for the most part this game. Mix up his pitches and pretty much keep the ball on the ground, keep it in the park. Hopefully we see, a better ground ball ratio to fly ball ratio. And if you see that, Bassett's having a good night. And even if not, if you're getting a ton of deep fly balls, you just hope it stays in the park. So getting into game 3 of this 4-game set, we will have David Peterson on the bump for the New York Mets. Obviously, this is a 4-game set. Peterson is 6-3 on the season, a 3.44 ERA, 1.33 WHIP, 83 and 2/3 innings pitched, 97 strikeouts. David Peterson, like I said, his last outing in Philadelphia was not as great. Obviously, Peterson is coming into the role to pretty much take over temporarily the spot of Carlos Carrasco. As we know, Carlos Carrasco is on the 15-day IL. Or the 10-day IL, my apologies. So he's going to be taking over that spot. Like I said, there was kind of the concern, are you going to put him in the bullpen? Are you going to have him a long reliever? But doesn't seem you have to make that argument for the time being, considering that he will be making starting spots until Carlos Carrasco comes back. So, like I said, going to be interesting to see how Peterson reacts. He had a really unfortunate outing against Philadelphia last time, where he was just command wasn't there, his slider wasn't there. So, like I said, expectations for this. Obviously, Rockies, they don't really hit lefties a whole lot that well from what I've seen. Like I said, we'll see how the Rockies lineup goes against that. But the biggest thing is keep that slider intact. What we've been seeing with Peterson this season is kind of a mix of all over the place. We've been seeing some 2020 when he rookied, his debut, where he would really throw that slider to get plenty of strikeouts, plenty of swinging and misses, and plenty of whiffs. Then last year and kind of early on this year, we saw the strikeout numbers and the chase rate was really low, and he was getting plenty of light contact, a lot of ground balls to the third base and short base side, a couple ground balls to the outfield for, some light hits. And that's really what we've been seeing with Peterson. The walks, the command of the strike zone is a little iffy. With the slider and his fastball, he could just dot the end of the strike zone, and it's kind of a subjective call. So with David Peterson, pinpoint accuracy is literally important with him. Like I said, he's a walk machine. He has complexities with walking guys. Getting out of situations, he's great. If you have runners on, bases loaded, we'll say, one out, he's great with that. Boom, double play to Lindor, turn to Mcneil to Alonso, you're out of the inning. David Peterson is great in situations like that. But, the long ball hasn't been a concern for Peterson, which is honestly a surprise. I know last year he had a little bit of issue with it, but the long ball has not been an issue. He's throwing that slider a lot harder. I think last time we saw at one point, one of his pitches got up to, I think it was 94 miles per hour. So for a slider, that's pretty impressive, considering that Peterson does not throw a whole lot hard. So, like I said, we're going to have to see how Peterson, goes into this outing, try and redeem himself from the last unfortunate outing he had in Philly. It's against an easier team. It's against an easier lineup. So we'll see. And getting into game 4 and the final game of this 4-game series, and obviously the final game of the series with the Rockies this season, we will have Mad Max Scherzer. Obviously, Scherzer, taking a look-see at him, 9-3 on the season, 2.33 ERA, a 0.94 WHIP, 115 and 2/3 innings pitched, 137 strikeouts. Like I said, Scherzer is really having a great season. It's really like he never left. I read those stats. The strikeouts, the innings pitched, it really doesn't seem like he left, considering that, there's other guys who are pretty much at 100, 100 to 150 innings pitched. So, it depends on how many starts you made, obviously, but going to be super interesting to see how Max Scherzer comes into this outing. Expectations for Scherzer, obviously, mixes pitches well. We know that he has that nice slider, the goal side slider, which could easily trick plenty of hitters, and you get plenty of swinging and misses, plenty of guys chasing. Obviously, his baseball savant, he's in the 89th percentile in chase rate, which is one of the top tier, and obviously the 85th percentile in whiff percentage. So like I said, that's going to be the thing for Scherzer. Obviously, he doesn't walk a lot of guys. He strikes out a lot of guys. The spin on his fastball has been nice. The spin on pretty much his slider, his changeup, his cutter, his curve. All of his pitches have been phenomenal the last couple times. The barrels have been a little kind of inadequate to see. The long ball, like I said, he's always had an issue with the long ball, even in his time in DC and, the couple months in LA. But pretty much, like I said, if you could just keep the bases empty, which is usually the case for Scherzer, considering he doesn't walk a lot of guys. And if you do see the rare game where he'll give up, 5 to 10 hits, okay. But like I said, you really hope you could try and, if you give up that solo shot, one unfortunate slider or one pitch that didn't break 100%, that you hope the bases are loaded. So, yeah, like I said, we'll see. Those are the 4 starters for the New York Mets and the Colorado Rockies. They are predicted to win all of them, so it's going to be exciting to see. This is obviously a huge game at home. Obviously, the first time back in probably, I think it was a week or two. Mets haven't been at home for quite a while now, so it's going to be exciting. 3 guys to keep an eye out for this series. For starters, I got to go Jeff McNeil. This dude has been lights out lately. McNeil has been a phenomenal hitter, really. I know this Yankee series, there wasn't a whole lot of great stuff to talk about, but Jeff McNeil was practically the one guy that you could come on and idolize and praise pretty much for the most part. Jeff McNeil really just going back to that mentality of bat to ball contact, make contact, and slap the ball. Don't be, having this launch angle swing. And we've been seeing it in his last 7 games, 29 at bats. He has 11 hits, 3 homers, a walk, which translates to a 379 average, a 400 OPS, and a 517 slugging. So, I mean, those are really phenomenal numbers. And if you want to get into a little bit more of a longer time, his last 15 games, 23 hits, homer, 7 ribbies, 3 walks, 426 average, a 448 OBP, and a 648 slugging. So, I mean, these numbers are much more favorable, I guess you could say. So, I mean, absolutely phenomenal from Jeff McNeil. So that is kind of my first and I guess kind of obvious guy to keep an eye out for this series. Secondly, I'm going to go Starling Marte. This dude has been hitting the ball very well lately. He's been hitting the ball really hard to left field. Been very impressive what we've been seeing from Marte. Obviously, could easily, be a leadoff hitter. And I know, a lot of people are asking about that in the chat, and I will get to that. But with Marte, he's been doing a phenomenal job, especially in the first inning. I mean, I know he's usually been batting second, but Marte has been doing a phenomenal job, simply enough, in the first inning. I mean, couldn't tell you the average and the on-base percentage of him getting on in the first inning, but it's probably one of the highest out of all the Mets. Obviously, in the last 7 games, Starling Marte has 29 at-bats, 10 hits, 3 ribbies, 3 walks, which translate to a 345 batting average, a 424 OBP, and a 448 slugging. Yeah, like I said, Marte, just bat-to-ball contact, really. He's been doing a phenomenal job. We've been seeing him get a couple dunks into right field periodically, but most importantly, he's hitting the ball to the left-hand side really hard, and even can get some doubles down the line depending on where you position yourself defensively. So he is my number 2 guy to keep an eye out for this series. And number 3, you got plenty of guys to keep an eye out for. Plenty of guys offensively who have kind of been looking a little bit better. But I think I'm going to go Mark Canha. I think he's going to have a really good series. Canha, obviously, the extra base hits have been there. He's been getting plenty of doubles, plenty of long balls. He's really been hitting the bat well, over 1,000 slugging percentage in the last 7 games and a 725 in the last 15 games. But looking at his stats in the last 7 games and 22 at-bats, Canha has 9 hits, 3 homers, 8 ribbies, 2 walks, which translates to a 343, which translates to a 409 average, a 480 OBP, and an 1,000 slugging. So, and he also had a really good series in Philly and an okay series in the 2 games against the Yankees. So those are my 3 guys to keep an eye out for this series. Definitely expect some good stuff from them. It's going to be super exciting. But now let's get into your guys' comments, questions, concerns. If you have anything related to the Mets, the Padres, the Braves, anything, drop it below. But let's get everyone in the chat. What's going on, everyone? Gio, Alex also. Peter, what's going on, guys? Gio says it's DeGrom Day. Yes, sir. Mark, what's going on? Seth, Cal says, hey, Hayden, how are you? Rough 2-game set, but at least we went 2 for 2 overall. On to the Rockies series, LFGM. Yeah, and like I said, as long as you split the season series between the Yankees, I really don't care. I mean, I'd much rather have been 3-1, but what are you going to do? See him next year. Kobe A says LFGM. Marco says, yo, LFGM, Mets are playing very well as of lately. Yeah. Santiago says, hey, Hayden, greetings from Puerto Rico. What's going on, man? Trey, what's happening? He says, random question, but what's your favorite baseball movie? Favorite baseball movie? I'd probably say Moneyball. I think Moneyball is a pretty good one. I think The Sandlot. I think those are 2 great movies you can make a case for. Drunk, what's going on? He says, just came from a Yankees stream. They were talking so much trash about the Mets. I mean, I've seen it all. Cal, what's going on? Cal says, should Jeff McNeil be the new leadoff hitter? Okay, so let's dive into this because I see everyone's kind of asking this question. So Jeff McNeil and the leadoff hitter. I saw someone else ask it. I'll pull up theirs too. Michael Z says, hot take, Jeff McNeil should be in the leadoff spot. And honestly, I don't even think that's a hot take as much now. I mean, maybe earlier in the season when it first started, sure. But right now, I mean, we've been seeing Nemo. And we've kind of talked about Nemo a couple streams ago, kind of went into depth, what's wrong with him, what's changing. And Brandon Nemo's, and I don't want to say he's having a disappointment season, but you look at a lot of his numbers, they're not as favorable as what we've been seeing out of Brandon Nemo, the last couple years since, coming up in the major leagues in 2016. Obviously, Brandon Nemo, really before the season, was known for his great chase rate, his ability at the plate, his selective hitting. fundamental hitting at the plate. And he was a walk machine. Obviously, I don't need to go over what Nemo, is or was, whatever. I don't need to go over that. But this year, he isn't walking as much. He's striking out a lot more. With Nemo, we've been seeing him get into plenty of more 0-2 counts. He's chasing much more. He's swinging at more pitches, whether that's a slider in the dirt, goal side slider, high end fastball. He's swinging more. He's taking more cuts. And he evenly came out and said, he wants to swing the bat a little bit more. And I don't have an issue with that. I really don't. But if you're going to be the leadoff man, I expect a little bit more faith in you. So it's kind of been the thing with Nemo, and it's been very frustrating. Simply enough, we've been seeing a lot of ground balls from him and a lot of strikeouts and a lot of flyouts with Nemo lately. I do want to pull up his baseball savant and maybe his fan graph so I could, compare a lot of his walk rates and, all that fancy stuff. But like I said, he's still in the 88th percentile in chase rate, strikeout rate, 73rd percentile, walk 62 percentile. So last year he was in mid 90s. Obviously chase rate, I think he was at 100, and strikeout he was, I think, probably mid 90s. So he took a little bit of a dip, I will say, for the least. Yeah, it's been frustrating. It really has. I know Nemo's in a little bit of a slump. We know that they were talking about that whole cortisone shot, and maybe that's affecting him. If he's injured, whatever. I just simply think Nemo's in a slump. It happens to the best of players in the league, and I just simply think that Nemo is in a slump. It's unfortunate to see, really is, but just how baseball works. And with Nemo right now, like I said, I really have no problem with him swinging the bat a little bit more. But if he's going to be in the leadoff spot, then I do care. I really need, like I said, the leadoff man getting on base is really a big message. I get it. He can get out, and the Marte can get on, and Lindor could, have a double, and then Alonso could drive a guy in with the homer, sac fly, or whatever. But, the first guy getting on really shows a message. And like I said, I don't need to explain that. I think everyone knows the job of the leadoff man. And I get it. They only bat in the order one time. But even down the line, when it's Nemo, Marte, Lindor, let's say Nemo doesn't get on or something, and that's 1 out or 2 outs. And then Marte, Lindor, and Alonso. So that's kind of why I'm hoping. I have no issue with Mcneill being leadoff, and even considering how well Mcneill's been playing lately, his ability to get on base. He's just bat to ball contact, and he's getting hit after hit after hit after hit. Walking, he doesn't walk a lot, he doesn't strike out a lot, but he just gets on base with contact, and I think that's great to have on a leadoff man. I really do. When it comes to Nemo, I kind of liked the old mentality of him walking and not swinging the bat as much. He changed it. Obviously, that's probably something Eric Chavez and him decided to do. That's fine. But like I said, if you're going to be in the leadoff spot, I can't see these, constant, ground balls or, any of that stuff. So we'll see. But let's get back into what you guys had to say. Seth, continuing on with Jeff McNeil, says, will Jeff McNeil win a batting title? Yeah, I certainly think McNeil winning a batting title is certainly possible. Taking a little look-see at his past stats, if we can. Yeah, mainly this season, he's been batting, 305 to 320 for the most part, obviously. I know batting average is kind of one of the stats that, like, no one really cares much about anymore. I think it's more like on-base percentage, OPS, if you're into the analytics, WOBA. But right now, looking at his average, obviously in 2019, that was his big season, all-star caliber season where he really broke out. 318 average, 2020, 311 this year, 321. And obviously in 2018, short sample size, obviously only 63 games, but a 329 average. So right now, McNeil, if he continues to kind of play it the way he is, he's probably going to finish the season, with a 320, 315 average. So, like I said, that's definitely there. The on base percentage, the OBP, 373 is definitely favorable. 2019 he had a 384, so you're in that same ballpark. Slugging's down, but I don't care about the slugging. OPS 833. 838. Yeah, like I said, the only reason 2019 it was so high is because he went on a home run tear in the second half, and like I said, he's not a power hitter. We don't need to go over that. But yeah, like I said, his numbers look great. Besides the average, OBP, slugging, OBP, OPS, WOBA, the OPS plus, whatever. So I've been very impressed with McNeil. going on? Alex says Mark Vientos is playing extremely well down in AAA. Should the Mets call him up right now? Well, listen, yeah, I will say yes. Vientos has been playing very well down in AAA. Obviously, one thing that he's really matured with is the strikeout percentage. Simply enough, taking a look at Vientos, the biggest concern with him was him constantly striking out, having a 30% strikeout rate in the minor leagues, and obviously then you have to translate that to the MLB level. So is that going to be 40, 50, 60? I mean, that would be nuts. But he's been much more of a selective hitter we've been seeing, and like I said, when he gets into these 0-2 counts, which he did a lot, and that is why he struck out a lot, and kind of still is to the extent. Simply enough, I guess it would kind of, like I said, I don't really know how to word it, but you still want him to get into these 0-2 counts and still be an aggressive hitter. You don't want him to dial back. But listen, even if he gets on base, like I said, I know he's a power hitter, and we could look at other guys like Pete Alonso, who is a power hitter. I mean, 53 home runs. He's capable of it. But with Alonso this year, we've been seeing him get into plenty of 0-2 counts and just hit a ball to the opposite field or hit a little base hit. Something like that works. Like I said, you don't always need a home run from your power hitter. Simply enough, get on base, pass the bat, and that's how it works. And I think Vientos definitely is kind of following like the steps of Alonso down in AAA, but he's been playing extremely well. The long ball has been phenomenal with him. So, I mean, I've been really impressed when it comes to Mark Vientos. I mean, he's really been having a great season down in AAA. Obviously, he deserves that promotion. And who knows, maybe we'll see him on the Mets roster, coming next month or, hopefully next season. Hopefully, I think that's more of a, realistic time table. Kobe, what's going on? Davis, what's going on? He says Mets have to go on a 10-game win streak. Division is getting closer by the day. Yeah. No, I mean, like I said, the division is tightening up. I mean, but it's really been all over the place for the most part with this Mets team, and really just the NL East with the Mets and the Braves. Phillies are kind of a little bit away ahead, but for the most part, they've really kind of been 10 games back, probably where they're going to stay. We'll see. But like I said, Mets and Braves, I mean, first they were 10.5 games back, then a half a game back, then 5.5 games back, then 7. Then it's the 3, and now I think they're a game and a half back. So, I mean, it's really been all over the place with the NL East. Probably how it's going to be. I mean, the Mets play the Braves, I want to say 3 more times this season, 2 more times this season. I know one of those are the second to last series in the whole season. So, I mean, that's really going to be an extremely important series, for this New York Mets team and the Atlanta Braves. I mean, that series, I think it's the second to last in September for the regular season. Probably going to determine the division if, this is how things are going to go. If, they're going to be, 2, 3, 4 games apart. I think that's a 4-game series. Correct me if I'm wrong, but we'll see. It's going to be interesting. RJ says runners in scoring position. Yeah, it's been rough. Alec, what's going on? He says, great show. With Nemo struggling, do you think they should flip Jeff and Nemo in the lineup, at least until Nemo finds a swing? Yeah, hopefully you heard my rant, but yeah, I agree. And I appreciate it. Connor, what's happening? Connor says, bats were just dead this quick series in the Bronx. I think it's from the long series, Philly, Atlanta, with the rain delays and the doubleheaders causing bullpen problems. Yeah, I mean, it's baseball. All teams have slumps. Everything happens. I guess it's just really how you respond to it is all that, really matters. And, the Mets are capable of responding well. Cal says, thoughts on the 2023 Mets schedule. I see they're going against the Marlins in Miami for opening day. Don't think they've had that in a while. Probably going to go. Yeah, I mean, I actually live in Florida. I go to school in DeLand at Stetson, which is right near Orlando, same school that Jacob Degrom attended, fun fact. But I think Mazika too. But obviously, I live in West Palm Beach, so I'm definitely going to try and go to that. I mean, taking a look-see at the Mets 2023 schedule, like I said, it's the first time where we're going to see them play every single team. Obviously, they're going to have, instead of 19 games against the division rival in the Phillies, the Braves, the Marlins, and Nationals, I think it's going to be much less. I think it's only going to be like 14 overall. So that's really going to be interesting. I mean, the Mets are simply enough going to be starting April and May, or March and April, and they're going to play Oakland. They're going to go to Oakland, obviously, in May. They're going to go to Detroit. They're going to have the Guardians come into town. In June, they're going to have the Blue Jays come into town. They're going to go to Houston. So you're pretty much going to play each interleague, in this case, the American League team, pretty much at least once. Whether it's going to be at home or away, that's still a decision. Like I said, the A's, we'll see them in the Coliseum, but then a team like the Guardians are going to come to New York. So pretty much makes sense. I kind of like it like this because I think it could really help expand the game, considering that, the Mets don't really, a lot of baseball fans, I mean, like if you're a Mets fan, you're not going to keep track of the Oakland A's a whole lot. I mean, they're, 2,000 miles away. And same thing if you're, I don't know, a Guardians fan. Are you really going to pay attention to the Marlins? It's stuff like that. So I think it's a really good way to expand the game. I really do give props to MLB for doing this. This is actually something I like. I don't know if you guys like it. But yeah, I think it's really something that could work well. Like I said, for the first time ever, all 30 teams are going to play one each other. So obviously, like I said, that's going to translate to fewer games against your division and more interleague. So it's going to be exciting. Opening day, March 30th in Miami, and then the season will wrap things up on October 1st against the Phillies. So it's going to be really super exciting. And then, they mentioned some other stuff. Every team is going to play on opening day. I know in the past that's kind of been like that. There's been a couple instances like 2020 where that wasn't the case. Obviously, Jackie Robinson Day, Lou Gehrig Day, July 4th, Roberto Clemente Day, and obviously for game 162. So super interesting to see. Yeah, I really do like this new schedule format. Alec, I appreciate it, man. Always appreciate it, brother. Definitely, if you guys are not like Alec, I recommend it. Marco says, will Edwin Diaz win NL reliever of the year, and how many saves you think he'll finish with? Yeah, I think he definitely has a pretty strong chance at winning reliever of the year, considering, I mean, Hader's kind of been slumping a little bit. There's not many other guys you can make a case for. Yeah, maybe Devin Williams, but Diaz has just been dominant, lights out. There's really no, I mean, yeah, there's some other arguments for other guys, but with Diaz, it's really been him for most of the time this season. So I got to go Edwin Diaz. I think he'll absolutely win reliever of the year. How many saves he'll finish with? Well, kind of interesting. I mean, let's see how many saves he has now. Saves are a stat that kind of been dying a little bit, but so Edwin Diaz has how many saves now? So Edwin Diaz has 28. Obviously, last year he had 32. 2020 he had 6. 2019 he had 26. 2018, which was the big season with the Mariners, he had 57. So yeah, I think he's definitely on pace. I mean, it's also hard because the Mets, have a lot of games where it's not a save situation, so they don't use Diaz, or if they use Diaz, he doesn't get the save because it's a 5-1 game. Obviously, it's not a save. So I mean, that just really proves that hey, maybe the Mets are doing a much better job offensively. Obviously, still cases where you rely on that, but like I said, Diaz is having a phenomenal year, no doubt. I mean, you look at the numbers. 0.8 whip, 0.95 FIP, K per 9 of 17.7, his highest of his career. An ERA plus of 271, highest of his career. 28 saves as of now. The accuracy's been pretty good. Only 1 hit by pitch this year. Last year he had 9. Only 15 walks. The lowest in 162 season for him. Yeah, so I mean, really, really good numbers for Diaz. So I mean, how many he'll finish with? I think he could finish with around like 30, 35, maybe 40. Kobe says, I'm digging this new schedule. Mets are going to be all over the place next year, which is awesome. Yeah, I like it, man. I really do. David says, think we'll see a Subway Series World Series. Yeah, I mean, it's certainly possible that we are going to see it. As of right now, Yankees, I get it. They've kind of been having a little bit of a rough go at it. No secret. Obviously, of course, they have to kind of break that streak against the Mets, which sucks, but it's baseball, it happens. But yeah, a Subway Series in New York would be phenomenal. Obviously, I was born in 2002, so I was a little late for the 2000 World Series, but I think it would be awesome. I mean, to have something enough a World Series in the same city. Obviously, whether that's Chicago, Cubs, and White Sox, probably not going to see that for a little bit, but always something to think about. Obviously, you have Rays and Marlins. Texas are both the same, so that can't happen. I mean, California has the case. Obviously, you have Dodgers, Angels. You could do Giants athletics. So yeah, I mean, it's certainly possible. I mean, I would love it. I think that would be really cool for baseball and just the MLB, and obviously as a Mets fan. Trace is trying to prepare for the Dodgers series. This lineup: Scherzer, Degrom, Bassett. Yeah, I believe we play the Dodgers after this series, right? Yeah, so if that's the case, I don't know if it'd be Degrom or no. I think you probably something like that. Yeah. Connor, what's going on? Connor says Jeff McNeil is the hottest hitter on the planet right now. Yeah, he is. There's really no. I mean, obviously, there's a ton of great guys in the MLB right now, but yeah, McNeil has really been having a phenomenal season, to say for the least. There's really nothing else going against it. I hope Jake DeGrom gets the win tonight. You and me both, man. Do you bring up Vientos? Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you heard my little rant before, but I think there's a really good possibility that you can call up Mark Vientos. Like I said, I mean, I don't know if they'll send Beatty down, and then you call up a Vientos. I think that'd be a little odd, but even as a DH role, or if there's a doubleheader, roster construction, I think there's a possibility they call him up. Maybe that September call up, which is what, next week, practically at this rate. It's August 25th. So I think there's a realistic chance that they do that. I did go over that before. Karen, what's going on? Seth says tons of runs coming our way for this Mets Rockies series. The bats are going to be flying. I'm hoping for a total of 8 homers by the Mets. Yeah, I mean, that'd be nice. I mean, I know Rockies pitching staff isn't great, so you could definitely take advantage of that. And I know it's in New York, but still, I mean, the Mets bats are definitely capable of, breaking on some of these guys. Chad Call, obviously, long ball merchant, has an issue with that. Say what you want about Coors, but hey, Mets have great hitters. I think Alonso, I think Vogelbach, I think Lindor are all capable of hitting some bombs this series. Do the Mets win games versus Rockies and Dodgers? I mean, yeah, I think reasonably, I think I'd take 3 or 4 against the Rockies. And Dodgers, I think it's a 3 game, so you try and get 1 of 3, 2 of 3. Cal says, what made Edwin Diaz so dominant this season compared to the last 3? It's really been 3 years? Yeah, 2019. Yeah, it has been 3 years. Well, for the most part, his slider. His slider has been much more nastier. Slider's been really well for him. The fastball has been much well. But command of the zone has really been a big thing for him. Obviously, we would see him go into outings and he'd be throwing all over the place, throwing way too high in the dirt, making the catcher run all around, and just walk in the ballpark and then just give up one unfortunate hit and then he gets screwed. So that's been a good thing for him. He's not been giving up any hard contact. If anything, he's giving up a lot of light contact, little dribblers to the left-hand side or a little BABIP, right by Mcneil or something like that. So, I mean, the contact has been very light, no hard contact that he's been giving up, no really barrels. I don't think this dude, I couldn't tell you how many barrels he's given up this season, but I could probably tell you with probably one hand in terms of fingers. So, yeah, I mean, Diaz has been dominant, no secret. Slider, fastball, dominant velocities there, but the consistency and the command has been there. And obviously, I think he was watching something on MLB Network, and they were talking about how he changed up his leg mechanics when it came to the slider, how he was more open with his legs on the release point. So that's also another good thing. Kobe says the Mets have to address the catcher position with McCann. I feel he's doing more harm than good. Yeah, I mean, we kind of, I think a lot of people like to diss on McCann, and I mean, hey, could you blame him? He really hasn't been doing much with the Mets. I mean, he's pretty much not been doing anything effective. I get it this season. He's been injured, no secret. He really hasn't played many games. He's probably only played, I don't know, 3 dozen games this season for the New York Mets. But I mean, I always reference Jason Bay. He's Steve Cohen's Jason Bay. It's no secret, like I said. I get it. When it comes to catcher's offense, you don't look for it a whole lot. I get that. You don't look, for catcher's offense a whole lot. But the fact is, he's an automatic out. And, with the DH and all that stuff being implemented, that was to make more baseball action. At this rate, have the DH for catcher and have the pitcher hit. I mean, if that's just going to be the case, you're getting really, I mean, out of all the position, obviously the catcher position is giving you the least amount of offense. Whether it's McCann's 500 OPS and his, 170 average, we're getting no production from this catching position. And McCann comes into situations where, 1 and 3. I'll get it. The ground outs haven't been as much for McCann this year, which has been really good. He's been hitting the ball a little bit harder to center. It's been getting caught. Big surprise, though. But really, with McCann, he's just been a disappointment offensively. And if this dude could increase his average, and I hate to use average, but if he could increase his average from 170, whatever, to at least 225, 230, I'd take it. That's a little bit more offensive production. He gets a hit, every now and then, maybe a walk every now and then. We had like that grand slam in the Marlins game when they were up like 10-1, which was useless. So with McCann, like I said, he's a little bit better defensively. I'll give him that. He hasn't been as bad defensively compared to the last couple, pretty much last year. But with McCann at this rate, you're really just holding him down until Alvarez gets called up. I mean, we've pretty much been speaking about that every single time this stream. With McCann, admit it, Jason Bay, whoever you want to use, as a failed contract. Do you try and just exterminate that contract and just give him his, 40 million's worth for the next 2 years? I mean, I don't see a world where Alvarez is the starting catcher for the Mets and he's still on this roster. I don't think they would even use him as an alternate. I really don't. So simply enough, like I said, we're really just gonna have to see how it goes. Lane says, are the Yankees going to make the playoffs this year? Yeah, I mean they'll definitely make the playoffs. I think the Yankees are obviously leading the division by far. I get it. They've had a little bit of a rough patch, for the second half. I know they're like 13 and 30 something in the second half since the All-Star break, but I still think the AL East is theirs. Obviously, Red Sox had a really unfortunate year so far. Rays, Blue Jays, they'll probably be, 7 to 10 games behind usually, unless they go on a really big win streak. And some of those games are against the Yankees, so those are going to be important ones. Obviously, the Orioles. I mean, if this team makes the wild card, I would certainly go to a game. And Orioles, I mean, that's another story. I mean, they've had a phenomenal season, really, for their standards. So, I mean, honestly, I would have no problem being a bandwagon AL Orioles fan. But yeah, Yankees will make it. Traces Ottavino is a clean inning guy. I trust Otto when he comes in to start the inning. Yeah, I mean, when he comes into relief, he sucks. And I mean, that's kind of been the moral of the story for a lot of Mets relievers coming into the inning already with, trying to inherit a runner, and they just have an issue with it. I don't really know what it is. If it's a mental thing, if it's just a situational thing, I don't know. But Ottavino's kind of been probably the best with that out of all of them. But simply enough, he's also probably been one of the best relievers, obviously besides Edwin Diaz on this team. So, yeah, like I said, Ottavino and Diaz are really the only two guys that I kind of have full trust in for this, for this New York Mets bullpen. Lane says, what's the news on Tyler Mcneil and Dom Smith and Drew Smith? So Mcneil, I believe last I heard, I believe Mcneil was throwing at Citi Field. So he should hopefully be back in early September from what I've heard. So maybe you could expect something with Mcneil, in the next week or two, definitely. Dom Smith, I believe he is in AAA. With Dom, I don't know. I mean, I remember before the deadline saying that, there's no way this guy will be on this team after the deadline, and he's still on the roster. Obviously, he's not playing at the major league level, and he's pretty much been in AAA. And maybe they'll call him up and send him down a couple more times, this season. But with Dom, I guarantee you next season, I can't picture him on this team. I mean, if they keep him on this team, I think it'd be. Yeah, I don't know what they would see in him. If they see something in him and I'm wrong, I apologize. But I think it'd be very rare to see Dom on this team. But I know he's in AAA. He's been doing all right in AAA. I think, the consistency and the playing time has been a thing for Dom that has been well for him down there, just not at the major league level. And when it comes to Drew Smith, yeah, we have not seen Drew Smith in a while. We know that he had a little bit of a rough go at it. Obviously, the last kind of the last couple of weeks before I believe he got injured, obviously. Yeah, there was an injury update with Drew Smith, so I kind of want to read that. So Tyler Mcneil, Drew Smith, it's obviously he had a lat strain. So pretty much Drew Smith has began throwing according to Showalter. His timeline is going to be similar to Mcneill's. It's currently unknown, but both obviously Mcneil and Smith are throwing live batting practice sessions. And hopefully both of those guys could come back in early September range. and they could use them both as bullpen arms. And well, really just Mcneill. Obviously, Drew Smith is a bullpen arm, but yeah, obviously you would really like both of them back. I know obviously Smith has been struggling a little bit. He started off the season really dominant, and then he kind of took a little bit of a a turn back. Could have been a lead up to the injury and some other stuff, but the long ball was an issue for him. So if he can control that, he's pretty good. What's going on, man? I couldn't tell you a single thing, honestly. I don't really follow Chiefs and Packers, so I couldn't really tell you. Peter, what's going on? LFGM, Alex, what's going on? Michael Z, what's going on? He says the Mets have a problem with catchers. McCann's an out at the plate, and Nito isn't much better. Do we bring up Alvarez and send down these two? If so, who do we send down? Yeah, I mean, I think honestly, when it came to Alvarez, I mean, we would speak about this dude a lot, this past offseason on the channel. And when it comes to Francisco Alvarez, I was kind of hesitant. I was kind of, he's a catcher. He's still developing. And I've always been big on a lot of the Mets calling out their prospects much younger. If you look at the Braves, a lot of their prospects are being called up 20, 21, 22, 23. Mets called their prospects 25, 26, 27, 28. A little bit older. That's kind of always been the case for them. But I wouldn't have an issue if the Mets started calling up their prospects at a much younger age. And catcher's one position where you can't do that because it's just you have to be so mature defensively. Obviously, you really have to be perfect defensively as a catcher in today's society. So simply enough, when it comes to Alvarez, I still think I want him to mature defensively. I want him to continue working down in AAA on his defensive ability, whether it's framing, blocking. I want his defensive metrics, who are already at an above average, to go to times 10. So yeah, like I said, we're really gonna have to see how that goes with Alvarez. And like I said, I mean, it's certainly a possibility. I mean, offensively, I think he's a great enough hitter to be able to perform at the major league level. I think, like most rookies, he may struggle a little bit when he first came up, and it's all right. It happens with pretty much all, not all, but a lot of rookies. So like I said, we'll see. It's gonna be interesting. Davis, what's going on? He says, how many games do you think the Mets will finish? How many winning games do you think the Mets will finish with this season? I'd say 101. Yeah, I'd probably say something like that too. Marco says, "Well, Albert Pujols gets 700 home runs." Yeah, I mean, right now I think he's at what 693. So I would love it. We know that A-Rod had that journey, and I think he finished at like 696. So I mean, I would love Pujols. Obviously, I think he's much more respectable than A-Rod. But yeah, I mean, I would absolutely love it. I really would. It would be awesome to see that. Santiago says everyone in the Mets bullpen except Diaz always comes in and gives up runs. They can't even go one inning without surrendering them. Yeah, I mean we've pretty much been talking about this for quite a while now. Mets bullpen, you only have trust in what Ottavino and Diaz. Lane says who will be in the Mets rotation going into next year, 2023. So obviously Degrom hopefully will stick with the Mets. I think it's most reasonable he will. So you'll have Degrom, you'll have Scherzer, you'll have Bassett. You'll have Carrasco. I mean, Walker's a free agent. He'll be questionable. I don't really know who's out on the market, really. I don't really know who is out on the market for free agents, but I mean, you have Degrom and Walker, who will be on the market this year. And I think Degrom is a little more optimistic to come back than obviously Walker. Walker could be a hit or miss. I mean, I could see them giving Walker a deal, and I could easily see them telling him to walk due to the injury and the inconsistencies sometimes with him. So with Walker, it's really a hit or miss. I would like them to resign him, but we'll see. RJ says, I know I like the new schedule. Me too. The Mets have always been very clutch this season. I know their numbers haven't been as great as they were in April or May with hitting with 2 outs and runners in scoring position, but they get the job done. Yeah, I mean, in April and May, I mean, this was the team who was, practically playing to the final strike, and they certainly are too. Like that game we saw, game 2 against the Yankees. I mean, compare that to the Cardinals game, the Phillies game, where they came back. So, like I said, you're not gonna, come back every single time you get in situations like that, but yeah. Lane, I couldn't tell you a single thing, honestly. I don't know. Yeah, I don't really follow that. Lane says, can the Mets play Boston Red Sox in the World Series this year? I mean, like, because they're an American League team, yeah, they can. Will they? I can't picture it, considering the Red Sox are in last place in their division, but it could happen, but I don't think it'll happen. Kobe says, any bullpen arm the Mets can target? I am worried for the Mets bullpen right now. I only have True and Diaz and maybe a bit of Notavino. Yeah, there's really no one else out there now, which is the unfortunate part. I mean, I know Jake McGee was out there. A little bit of a raffle, but we'll see. Matty D says, oh my God, it's the guy who rages at the Mets. Well, yeah, I mean, not much this season because there's not much been to rage about. Lane says, when Tyler McGill comes, do you put him in the bullpen in September? Absolutely. That is the plan. The Mets are going to, kind of start him off in relief and then build his way up. And I think that's a great idea. Let him figure out his repertoire, his pitches, still developing, get those innings pitched. Cal says, rename Citi Field back to Shea when the naming right contract is up. Yes or no? Yeah, I wouldn't be against that. That actually is kind of cool. Connor says, can a return of Joey Lucchesi and his Churv help out the 2022 Mets? Absolutely. Having a lefty in the bullpen is going to be huge. Another long reliever, huge. Got to eat up innings, huge. Like I said, I mean, besides Dolly Rodriguez, there's really no other lefty besides David Peterson. And I don't know if he'll be a bullpen arm. We'll see. But yeah, I think he'll absolutely have an impact considering even regardless of the quality, the quantity, it's a big part too. Why can't the Mets wear the black uniforms on the road? I don't know why they don't wear the black away ones. I've never really thought of that. I don't know if they are going to bring that back or what the deal is with that, but I would definitely like them to bring it back. I think the black jerseys are really a nice jersey. I certainly like them. I mean, I have my black Piazza one, but I'm definitely probably going to get a black, probably a black Lindor. I actually do not have a Francisco Lindor jersey yet. In terms of current Mets right now, I have multiple Alonsos, Mcneill, Degrom. I have a Seth Lugo jersey. Pete Alonso, Jacob Degrom, Jeff McNeil, Seth Lugo. Conforto's obviously not on the team. But yeah, those are the current Mets I have now. I do got to get a Max Scherzer jersey. Got to get, obviously, got to get a Lindor jersey. Probably got a Brett Beatty and eventually a Francisco Alvarez jersey because I don't know what number Alvarez is going to be, so I'm not going to, buy a minor league one. I don't know. I may buy a Syracuse Mets one if I can find one cheap. That'd be pretty cool. Davis is LFGM for sure, man. LFGM as always. So yeah, we'll probably get calling it a stream in the next couple minutes. I'll kind of go over my little outro. But yeah, I really do just want to appreciate everyone for tuning into today's stream as always. Always appreciate you guys leaving great comments, leaving great questions, going over the Mets, anything baseball related, Red Sox, Yankees, Phillies, Diamondbacks, Rockies, whatever. Super exciting. Obviously, in today's stream, we went over the Mets and Yankees Subway Series summary, summarized that, went over what went wrong, what went right, a few things that did go right. And then obviously the Mets and Colorado Rockies series preview, what to look forward to, expectations, guys that I think will have a good series, maybe a bad series. We'll see. Obviously went into all your guys' comments, questions, concerns, everything related to Mets minor leaguers with Francisco Alvarez, Brett Beatty, Mark Vientos, obviously the catching situation, how Jeff McNeil has been very hot lately, as long as Francisco Lindor as well. Kind of going over the NL East, around Major League Baseball, really kind of all going around. So it's been super exciting. I really do appreciate you guys for tuning into the streams as always. Like I said, if you could smash that like button, turn on those post notifications. You know anyone that likes baseball, give him the channel. Say, yo, hook up my boy Hayden. He talks great baseball, Mets, anything content. Like I said, I know it's a Mets channel, but I have no problem talking, non-Mets. I think it's a great way to kind of expand my knowledge and just overall much more. So super exciting. Really do appreciate everyone for tuning in to the stream as always. Definitely always a pleasure to have everyone. Like I said, smash that like button, turn on those post notifications. Any comments, questions, concerns, drop it below. If you're rewatching this on replay, kudos to you for sticking for the hours and 6 minutes. Tip of the cap, you deserve a medal. Or if you're already watching this on replay, if you want to drop anything in the comment section below, do that. Follow me on Twitter at Mets Hayden, where pretty much is when I announce when I'm going live. So obviously that's a great way to be informed, or turn on the post notification bell for that. Hopefully the audio does sound fine on this. I know I obviously do have at school, in case you couldn't tell with the new background. Obviously, I don't have my really cool Mets wallpaper and all that stuff in the background, my memorabilia wall. But I think the flag will do for now. But definitely going to try and get a microphone coming soon. So yeah, I just want to appreciate everyone for tuning into today's stream. As always, like I said, any comments, questions, concerns, don't hesitate, drop it below. And yeah, till next time, baseball fans. See ya.